In this lesson, we're going to cover how to add blend shapes to our rig. So what we're starting out with here is the fully rigged, fully skinned character. And we're going to go ahead and add some blend shapes on him right now. So while we've built some facial controls on here, um, they don't do everything. So we start to get some, basic lip motion. We have, jaw opening, but it's not going to be able to be so great at making a good smile. Or maybe certain scowls or other facial expressions, and maybe particular lip shapes when it comes to saying certain words. Um, and this is also a game rig, so this is built with kind of game setup in mind to try to do as much of this with joints as possible because it's more efficient as far as the resources the computer uses when computing those different poses. And blend shapes are kind of resource intensive. So the more blend shapes you have in a game, it starts to eat up your resources real fast. So you could use some blend shapes, but they try to limit them to shapes that, or what they call corrective shapes. So when you start to say, try to pose an O mouth here, you could do a bit of it with joints, but it's really not going to do it. So you could start to do it, but it gets all jumbled up. A corrective shape would kind of smooth this out. So you could put this in an O pose. And then still have it look smooth. If you know anything about how graphics work or how they're being processed, every blend shape you're using that's on at a time uses something called a draw call. In most engines that I've seen anyway. So the more of them you have, the more processor intensive your character gets. Ideally, your whole character is only usually 2 or 3 draw calls, either 1 or 2 for the mesh and the skeleton, and then the shaders 1. So if you have multiple shaders on there, so each shader you have usually tends to be a draw call too. But ideally, you're trying to keep them down to just 2 or 3 is a good number. Maybe 5 on a higher character. But as you start to add blend shapes, for every 1 that you have turned on at all at any given time, so you could have like 20 blend shapes on here. If you only have 1 turned on, it will only add 1 draw call. But if you have 5 of them turned on, well, that's 5 more draw calls added onto this guy. So you don't really have to know what that is, but just be aware of it if you are doing this for games. Now, if you're doing this for film or rendering, who cares? Add as many as you want. Maybe even skip the joints, just do blend shapes, so you get nice poses that you like. And I should probably explain what a blend shape is. A blend shape is just another mesh here that let's go ahead and make one right now. So I'm just going to duplicate this mesh. So I've got it in the default pose. Nothing's been posed on here, and this is what we always want to start with, is just a nice clean skeleton. So I've duplicated it. Because it's already skinned to the character by default, when you skin something, its attributes are locked. So we're going to unlock those because we don't want to move to a skin mesh. I'm just going to move this off to the side here in X. It doesn't really matter. I can put this wherever I want. I'm just going to move it over here in X, so it's kind of out of the way, but then I can start to shape it. You always have to start with the duplicate. It needs to have the same vertice numbers that this model does. And what that means is when you make a model, each one of these vertices has an ID on it. Can we see it on here? No. We can see it in the component editor, though. General component editor. And you see this is vertex number 518. How does Maya assign vertice numbers to a model? It's random. So when you're making it, it's just kind of random. But if we duplicate the model, they'll line up 1 to 1. So the thing is, if I made a new model and just exactly trace this geometry and try to make a blend shape out of that trace, it would not blend shape well. Your model would look like this spiky thing because vertice 518 might be here on this model, but the one I recreated, it might be down here or over here or over here. So when you blend shape, this vert would move to wherever that vertice is. But that's the concept behind blend shapes is, this vertice is the same as this vertice over here. So when we blend this shape to this shape, it knows move those vertices that amount. So let's do something obvious with this guy that we can see really easily. Let's make his nose bigger. And I'm going to go into component mode, and I'm just going to sculpt this mesh. And I've got soft selection on. I'm going to go up a little bit higher. I'm going to go to my move tool and scroll down here. My soft selection just a little bit lower so I'm not getting so much of the lip here. And just start to pull out those nose sub. I mean, we'll really exaggerate. This isn't, a pose that I'd want, but, it starts to show you guys how blend shapes work. So with that made, and I can make a bunch of these. I could grab them all at once, or for now I'm just going to start with this one. I'm going to select my, I got to remember which order I do this in. I think I select all the sample meshes, and then I select the target mesh. Oops. Go up to Deformer, Blend Shape. And let's go look at the options real quick. Okay, so we don't have Blend Shape node, that's fine. Envelope, I think all this is good. So we see in between here, and what an in between shape is a shape that happens between two blend shapes. Every now and then you'll want to use one of these, but for the most part it's not a big deal. So trying to think of a good example. It's rotation's a good case, because like if you did the jaw opening with a blend shape, it wouldn't rotate nicely. It would just do a linear motion from here to jaw open, and everything would look weird, like the face slid in that or melted in that position. So in cases of rotation, in between blend will be a blend shape that happens between two other shapes that then allows for a little bit more natural motion. But for the most part, I rarely ever use these, if I even ever have in a professional case. Under here, under advanced, we have some settings, and the only thing we really want to make sure here is it says front of chain, and it's on that by default. What that means is, as far as the history is concerned, the construction history, it's going to put itself before the skin cluster. And what that means is, if it went after the skin cluster, what would happen is our mesh would move to wherever the blend shape is. So if we moved this character rig, around, and we turn the blend shape on, the mesh would move back here because the skin solver is solving first and then the blend shape. But if the blend shape solves first and then it's saying, okay, go into this pose, now move the mesh, by going in front of the skin deformer. So that's something to be aware of, but again, it's on by default. Usually we don't need to be in here. Okay, so I'm going to grab my two meshes again, click Apply. That's it, we have a blend shape on there. So this is the first one. You can see it in your history, blend shape, node 1. If I actually click on this now, it's on this mesh here. We see head 1, which is the duplicate that I made here. And ideally I should name this, because that name is what's going to show up in here, but we'll get in that in a minute. So let's go to side view so we can kind of see what's going on here. And if I select this name and middle mouse scrub, you can see that's turning on and off. So that's how blend shape works, and now it moves around with our head. And we could add as many shapes as we want, and start, we could sculpt different poses. Something that you could do is even rig a head and sculpt off of it, and then duplicate that mesh, and so we could, if we need to do a pose for like a mouth open specifically, I could duplicate this mesh, skin it back onto the rig, copy the skin weights from the original head to that duplicate head, so it's following the same way. Now I'll sculpt that duplicate head with the mouth open to get, like maybe nice smile lines or something like that when the mouth's open. Then I could close the mouth again, and then unskin it, move it back, and now I have that resculpt with the smile lines in that should work when the mouth is open. So there's some little tricks like that. It doesn't always work that well because there's a little bit of interpolation lost between the mouth being open and closed through rotation and that blend shape happening. But there's a bunch of little tricks like that. But for the most part, you use it for like smiling or different eye shapes. If you didn't have any of the joints in here, you could do it all with blend shapes. But again, rotation is something you usually want to do with joints. So say like eyelids opening and closing, jaw opening and closing. You'll still rig that, but you can start to do different mouth poses all with blend shapes, and do the O face, the grin face, all that kind of stuff. So let's see. I think that's essentially it. Oh, there's one other feature I want to show you here with blend shapes. So we've got this one, and you can see they go 0 to 1. There's an interesting thing that happens when you hook them up to an attribute. So let's go ahead and make a locator here, because it'll just be temporary. So snap this up with my face to get it up here. Okay. We'll add an attribute on it. I'm going to call it slider. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and hook the slider up to control that blend shape. So general editor, connection editor. Okay, there's my slider attribute. And an easy way to get to this blend shape is if I click the head and then I click this blend shape right there. If I hit reload over here, you see it loads up. I don't have to go dig through my hypergraph to get that. But it also loads up the head. But blend shape's in there first. And I'm looking for weight. So weight's where it'll show all the different heads it's weighted to. So if I had 10 heads in here, it would show 10, head 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in here. I'm going to hook slider up to control the head weighting. Now, if you saw when I made this, I didn't limit this to 0 to 1. So what happens when I start sliding this now? You see it just keeps adding on and adding on. So it really looks at how much did these vertices move from where this is and just keep adding that value on. So if I'm only at 50%, they've only moved 50%. They've only moved halfway from there. But when I start to go over 1, unlike what the blend shape node gives me, I could keep adding on to this. So I could go really far out. Or even in reverse if I need to pull the nose in. So by default, the blend shapes will give you that, but as soon as you hook up a control, you can do that. And here's the thing I recommend is add these all, especially if you're doing a whole face and all these different facial expressions on the face. There's 2 types of controls I've seen, and I'm not going to go into building this one because I'm not going to particularly encourage it for the time being. But let me show you what it looks like. So it typically looks like, let me build it out real quick. And I'll explain the concept because it'll be easy enough to build for you guys. Let's see. Go over 3, down 3, 3. Okay, so there's my frame. And then let's make a control. Let's see. Trying to remember my pattern here. So let's say something kind of like this. Going ahead and send it as pivot. Group these 2 guys. There's my transformations on here. Okay. So if you've seen other people with blend shapes on their rigs, this is a common example of what they'll do with it. And there's a couple ways you could do this. So the idea is you'd build this box and you'd limit the distance that this is just for show. You'd limit the distance of how far this could travel. So we built this box 3 units by 3 units. So you'd go into the limit information. I'm in the attribute editor here. Limit information, and you'd limit the translate X, Y, and Z. So you'd say minimums, turn these all on and say minimum of 3, maximum of 3, and Z just, you can't go anywhere in Z. So 0, 0, -3, -3, +3, +3. And now that can't go any farther than those edges. So this is just visual. And actually, if you want to make this so you can't select it, there is actually, where is it? Never remember where this is at. So display, drawing overrides, enable override, and go from display to reference. And this is the same as your display layers. Here I'm on picture my visibility. R is for reference, so I can see it, but I can't select my joints. Here they're on and selectable. T, their template, they're kind of grayed out, so they're not as pronounced, but they're you can totally see them opaque and everything, and you just can't select them. You could do the same thing for that box, which, let me grab this because now I can't grab it from anywhere but the outliner. Display, drawing overrides, enable overrides, display type, reference. Or I could do template if I want it a little bit more grayed out. So they'll make a box like this. Oh, I don't think I set up my limits right. Oh, huh, that's why, because I rotated this guy. So it's actually 3 here, 3, and it's Y that we don't want to move in. Okay. So, and what you do is, so you could do a large box like this, and you'd set driven keys for blend shape on, left, or right. So this is a case for like smile or frown. So left side smile, right side smile. If it's up and in the center, you'd have both on. If it's down, you'd have left side or right side frown, left side frown, center's both on. And the reason you'd have a control like this is because you can't smile and frown at the same time. So it's either smile, frown. On this side it's only the character's right side. Here it would be both sides on at the same time, and then here it would be either left or right. It's easy enough. You just set driven keys. So in this corner you'd only have the left side smile on. In this corner you'd only have the right side smile on. In this corner you only have the left side smile on. In this corner you only have the left side. I'm mixing up my sides. In the center top you'd have both on. Center bottom you'd have both frowns on. Center of this thing you don't have any on. You could also turn this into half a box, so bring the frame up and grab my so I could have that's just not gonna let me grab it till I go and change that. Anyway, move those CVs up so it's only half a box. And so if I only wanted it for there's no counter to smile, it's just left to right, I could just go up in the corners and do that way. Or I could just have a box that only goes left to right, for if I want like a wide mouth to a narrow mouth, and just have it like 2 binary options. So there's a bunch of different options you can kind of do with this box, and if you look around, you'll see different blend shapes rigs that are being controlled like this. I tend not to like these. They're very visual and fun to play with, and so you'd have your like smile frown here, and you'd have eyes narrow, eyes wide, mouth O shape, mouth wide shape, so you have all these different controls for all your different blend shapes. And while these are fun and easy to play with, visually, they aren't great for working with. Partly because you're limited to only what the blend shape currently does. Unlike when we made our locator, we could yank that nose out even farther than what it originally went to. And copying your keyframe. So if you set a whole face on here, so you move all these different controllers that you've made to set an entire facial pose, well, now you have to copy the keyframes to all those different controllers to put that face pose on, say, a different keyframe. As opposed to if you just had it as a bunch of attributes on a single control, now you can just copy the keyframe off that one control, paste it wherever, and it's much easier to work with. And so that's the thing I'd say. So this is the fun to play with, but not a great workhorse, I'd say, because you always have to jump around to all these different controls and deal with all the keyframes, versus having one that kind of controls the whole face. So that was kind of the overview of, if you are interested and you want to play with it, that's kind of the rough idea behind it. But I don't recommend it because, while it's more visually interesting to work with, once you get a whole set of animation and it's time to start tweaking things or reusing poses to save yourself time, it's not that friendly for that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this guy because this is just an example. And I'm going to go ahead and jump in my outliner and delete that. If I can find it in here, all my other rig stuff. There's a blend shape node. Actually, no, this isn't a good place to find it. Let's on my actual face. Oh, did I put my nose back? I don't think I did. Let me redo that first before I delete this blend shape. Okay, so we'll get rid of this guy too. I'm going to go to my hypergraph connections, graph on my head, and look for that blend shape node. There it is. Goodbye. Okay. So I'm going to remake that blend shape node again. But what I've done is gone ahead of time and made some different faces, just for some really basic poses. And they're actually in here under blend shapes, and I've just got them hidden. They've been here all along in this tutorial. Maybe you saw them already and wondered what they were. So these are real basic. So there's one for each side. So here the cheeks are puffed out, left and right. Um, if you're wondering how to do this, so one, there's some scripts that'll let you do this, so you can model one side, and the script will go and make the other side. So you make the right side, or I guess the character's left side, and then it'll go make the right side. The other trick you can do is duplicate two models over on top of each other before you start sculpting. And before you start, let's grab this. We'll kind of do this one in reverse. So these are right on top of each other. But before I'd start sculpting, I'd turn 1 to -1 in the X scale. And I would just make sure I'm moving both vertices at the same time as I'm sculpting that model. And then when I'm done, I'd go find the one that has a -X scale on it, turn it back to 1, and I've got a left and right side. Go put that one back. And the spacing and placing these is just arbitrary. I can place them wherever. What matters is they started out in the same place that the head did. But mostly that it's a duplicate. It's the same geometry. So what I have here is the cheeks puffing out left and right. And then these are subtle, but something I can't easily do with my joints that I've made is pulling the upper lip out in, so like you're making an E sound, bringing your lips in, and then pushing the lip out, kind of like ooh sound, where your lips can start to push out. And these are real rough shapes. I could probably sculpt these better, but they're quick sculpts. So there's the upper lip in, upper lip out, lower lip out, lower lip in. And I don't have to go super far with these, because again, if I hook them up to a slider like I was talking about, they'll go even farther than they are now. So let's go ahead and I'll just grab all of these and grab this head last. Create deformer, blend shape. And I'm pretty sure if let me check this theory here. I'm gonna go ahead and make another head here. So what if you're doing this and you've made some blend shapes and you realize, oh, I need one more. So I'm gonna make another head here. But let's first look at what I got here. So I put that blend shape on, so we have the cheeks puffing out now. Lip curling. Lip going out. Lower lip coming out. And lower lip going in. So I had those in and I go, you know, the smile is just not working out this rig. I need to go make a blend shape for it. Let me see if I can just add this on. I can't remember if I need to define it or if I can just add it. So what I'm looking for here is I know I already have blend shape 1 here. I'm going to see if it adds like a blend shape 2 node somewhere in there, or if it just adds it on to blend shape 1. Oh, you know what? I haven't done this in a while. I'm pretty sure there's something for adding to blend shapes. Yeah, blend shape add. So I go, instead of create deformer, edit deformer, blend shape add, blend shape node. Okay, maybe I have to select the blend shape node. Let me go graph this thing in my hypergraph again so I could find that blend shape node. And there it is. Alright, let's try this. Not a DAG item. Okay, let's go into the options and see what I'm missing. Alright, well, let's specify which node. There we go. Okay, that was weird. Usually, I believe it could do it without that, but we had to specify that it was blend shape 1. When we make them, they should be listed in here. But now I should have, you know, head 1. We'll just do something here so we can see that it's actually being added. Yeah, so I could add blend shapes in whatever I want. You know, as long as I have a default mesh to start with, I could add a blend shape in any time. I'm going to actually go ahead and get rid of that. So, because it's not one that I want to deal with right now. But just showing, you know, you're not stuck with whatever you initially start with. What you do need is this original face and some sort of default pose roughly. I mean, like I said, you could pose this and then duplicate it to start to build your shape, but it needs to be the original geometry in some way. And also, I don't recommend freezing transformations on it after moving or anything like that. Okay, so let's go hook these up. So we've got all these blend shapes on here now. Let's go hook them up to controls. Really, to me, this is only 3 controls, and technically 4. One for the left cheek, one for the right cheek, one for lip in and out, and one for the upper lip in and out, and one for the lower lip in and out. So I don't plan on putting a whole lot of facial controls on this guy. These are just kind of the shapes that he can't get. So this is where we kind of split and go different directions depending on what you're doing. So I'm going to assume this is kind of a game rig, and these are going to be all my blend shapes. In this case, I'll just probably put them on a couple of the lip controls to control the lip, and on the cheeks themselves to handle the puffing. Now, if this was a character and I'm doing all the facial commands through blend shapes, I would go make another controller that, kind of like we did for the hands, that same concept. I would go make something like this that just follows the head control. It's just floating right by, maybe a little smiley face or something by here. I'd add on all the attributes and hook them up to all my blend shapes, and just have sliders here that drive this. This control doesn't move around. Maybe let it translate so they could reposition it to wherever they want to, have access to it while they're looking at the face. But that's kind of all it does. The other nice thing you could do with that is sometimes you'll make a custom camera. So create, let's go ahead and do this real quick. Create camera, and we'll just make a regular camera. And let's go. So if I go to perspective, I can switch to camera 1 now. And I would put it, say, right here in some way, so that it's always following the head. And maybe even lock out all this stuff, and maybe make a group that is parented over it. So I could have it say rotate, so it does this, but I do it through an attribute, so I don't get way off the character. Whoops. But then parent that group to the head control. So no matter where the character is walking, you have a camera that follows. So let's look at that real quick, just so we can kind of see what that looks like. I know this isn't making blend shapes, but it's all stuff related to posing the character's face. So I'm just going to group that. I'm going to point snap the polygons, get the skeleton on. I'm going to point snap to, whoops, somewhere on the head. Show polygons. Alright, so window outliner, string parent. And so, alright, I'm going to see how well this works. Okay, so I've got the base control selected. I'm going to click X, so I'm only, so now if I middle mouse drag, I'll go and X. I'm going to go look at the camera. So now if I middle mouse drag while looking in that camera, I should see all those other heads pass by. But you can see how it looks like it's just staying locked to the head, even though we're moving sideways. So it's a nice way to be able to move your character wherever, but always have a fixed view to start editing your head. So just stuff to think about when working on your character. As far as nice to have controls. Okay, so back in perspective view, let's go actually hook these up. So I'm going to make, I think I already did, no I haven't in this one. I'm going to make some attributes on these controls rather than a single slider, because I have so few in this case. If I change my mind, I'd probably go delete those attributes and then throw them all on one control. But in this case, I've got 4 controls I'm making at most. So modify, add attribute, and we'll call this one curl. I'm adding this to both the upper and lower lip. And again, I'm not setting them in max. I don't want to limit the animators from being able to really pull that extreme for some reason. They can't really break it, and they could always reset it to 0 if they do. So not too worried about them going too far and just making a gnarly mesh, because they're smart enough to figure out when that doesn't look right. At least I would hope if they're working on your project. So do the same thing for the cheeks, and I'll add puff here. Okay, so the simplest way would be, let's do this with the cheeks first, and then we'll talk about giving finer control. I'm gonna open up my connection editor, load up my cheek. If I click on the head, again I can click on this blend shape node rather than having to dig it through the hypergraph or the outliner. I'm gonna puff, and everything's under weight. So that's my left side, and I'll do the same for the right while I got this open. Alright, so now if I middle mouse drag that, there we go, so puff. But that's fairly extreme, and maybe it's moving more than I like for how little I'm moving this controller. So we could fine tune this some, and the way we'll do that is with a multiply divide node. So I'm going to go through and let's see if we can even see it here now. There's my blend shape node. I'm going to go ahead and I just have it up still from the head. If I just grab the head, I could find that again. But I'm just looking for something that starts with B and looks like blend, and that's my blend shape node. And see, you can see the right cheek is hooked up to drive the blend shape here. And this is the connection I'm looking for. What I'm going to do is throw in a multiply divide node to slow that down a little bit. Also, let's make sure they're both going the same way. I don't know why they wouldn't be, but let me just double check that. So if I grab both at the same time, okay, good. They both go out. We don't have to put one negative, one positive for some bizarre reason. So create render node, we're going to go down to utilities, and we're going to find a multiply divide node. And take this guy, name it, let's see, left. You know, I'm going to just make one multiply divide node because I only have one channel going from here to here. You know, one attribute. This thing comes with 3, so I'll just use 1 for both of them. Puff, cheek puff, multiply. Okay. So we'll say, I don't know, this side's X, this side's Z. And we'll plug in both our right cheek attribute and our left cheek attribute into inputs 1 and 2. So right cheek puff into, well, no, let's say XYZ. We'll just read left from right and say left to right as far as what we're visually looking. As long as I get the sides different, that's really all that matters. I'm just trying to give some logic to it, but there's not a ton that you could put into this. Okay, so 1 and 1. And what we want to do is just slow it down. So we'll multiply it times 0.1. And that'll still, so it's taking 0.1 of whatever's going here and plugging in. So 1 becomes 0.1 as we're scrolling, so we could get to a much higher number. So you'll see in a second here, it'll slow down control. And after that, we take the cheek puff, we take its output, and we're just going to, again, plug it into this blend shape node. And let me do one side first before the other. So I think this side's left. There we go. Okay. So here's the left side. You can see now as I drag, the number gets much higher, but it's a nice slower, gradual motion for puffing the cheek. Where if the right side, which I haven't changed yet, really shoots out there really fast. So a little bit harder to control to finesse that. So that's all we're doing is just giving the ability to finesse driving that cheek. So if I don't know why you'd want it like that, maybe got punched in the face, but for the most part, it's probably going to be something like, that is as much as we're doing. But that gives a little bit finer control. So I'm going to go back in and hook and up our other one. So that slows it down a little bit. So we're going to do the same thing for the left lip and the upper lip here. And I'm going to go ahead and connect them to just, well, no, I'm going to go ahead and graph them all because I don't want to connect them yet because this is going to be driving 2, and the way we're going to do that is a condition node again. We use that somewhere else. I can't remember what part of the rig. Oh, and the FK-IK switching. So we're going to do the same thing here where, was it the FK? No, I think it was the reverse foot on flipping left side to right side. we're going to do the same thing here. So first off, I'm going to make, let's see, where do those multiply divide nodes go that I just made? Do they not show up? I don't see them, but okay, whatever. I'll make new ones. And so let's do that. So we're gonna let's make these all at once. So I want to make 2 multiply divide nodes, and I'm gonna make 2 condition nodes, which are, where are they? There they are. So we're gonna have one of these for the upper lip and one for the lower lip. So I'm just gonna go ahead and name these both at the same time. Let's see, lip. I'll go ahead and put CL because they actually are in the center. Lip, low, curl, multiply. So copy that name and get a condition node. Name that one. Paste that in. Change low to up. The upper lip. And change this name of the multiply divide node. Okay, so everything's named. So let's see, I think we want the multiply divide node to go into the condition node, so let's go ahead and hook those up first. And let's see, we'll do the same thing, the same sort of split. So let's go ahead and plug the multiply in. So we're going to plug in output x of, let's see, how do I need to do this? Okay, so actually let me take this one step at a time, because otherwise I'm going to start getting ahead of myself and confusing myself. I'm just going to change these all to 0.1. And this might be a case of where I actually need to have one be positive and one be negative. We'll see. I'm not sure. But maybe my orientation... No, because we'll fix it as we go. Okay. Or not negative 1, 0.1. Okay. So let's plug in our... This is the low lip. Let's grab the low lip control. That's the shape node. Screw it, I'm just going to do it in my workspace here. I'm going to plug in curl into... just going to plug it into all of them. We're not going to use all of them, but I think we're using just 2 of these. I know we're using just 2 of these, one for out, one for in, but I'm just going to plug it into all 3, because if it doesn't go anywhere, who cares? And that way I don't have to try to figure out which one did I hook up and which one did I not. And let's see, that's lip up, lip up. Okay, so what we're going to do is say if it's going positive, we want the lip to curl, let's say, out, and then if it's going negative, the lip curls in. So let's start by hooking up the low lip multiplier to the condition. So let's say x is lip going out and well, no, they all are. So it doesn't matter what input's coming in; they're all the same as far as the output. So as far as the condition, let's actually look at the attribute editor. That's where we need to start with this guy. So we want to say if it's let's go with greater than, and if it's greater than 0, it'll end up being the lip curl. So just for the sake of trying to keep everything sane as I'm doing this, color of true is, we'll say, R. Color of false is, it should stay 0 and not keep going. Let's see, we're going to want to do Yeah, I think this is fine. Okay, so color of true. This is where I start trying to remember what's what, but I'll build this and test it out. So, and then if it's false, we want. Okay, we'll separate our colors. So we'll say if it's false, we'll say this is out. See, and again, this is getting a little tricky because it's all one number. These are all the same number, but just to keep it okay in my head, we'll say false. It's B. So we'll plug the color R into the lip out, and so if it's going greater than 0, we need to plug this into first term. So just grab any one of these. So if this number is greater than 0, if that's true, then it'll be color R going up, and if it's false, it just stays at 0. If it's less than 0, then we're going to use color B, and that's the lip in will stay at 0 if it's greater, and when it's lower, it'll go up. I think that's the theory behind there. I'm sure it's right in your guys' brain to try to figure that out. So let's plug it in and test that theory out, and that'll tell us more than anything. And then I could sit here and fiddle with it until it looks right. So out color. So we're doing lower lip. So we said R is if it's true, so that's lip out, and B is curl in. And let's see if that worked like I thought. So that one's lip out. Good, so we have the lip curling out. Nope. Nope. Okay, so what did I hook up? So, okay. So I think we should only need one condition now, because otherwise it's that number getting bigger. Oh, right, because it needs to be that number getting smaller. Right? Color in. Let me see what's going on our blend shape. That would probably tell us more. So I'm going positive, and what do we have as far as the blend shape? Let me turn off my cheek puff so that isn't distracting. So we're getting lip curl out, positive. Okay, so that part is working. We don't have anything happening there, so that looks right. Let's go negative and see what happens. Okay, that looks wrong, so what's going on there? Oh, that's right. Okay, so we do need to reverse one of these because it's putting in a negative number. So for our, let's say that's negative 0.1. Right, because now it's going a negative number, which we're then telling our blend shape to go negative instead of positive. So that's where we need to reverse it. That looks better. So now it's going in, out, in, out. Okay. Hooray, troubleshooting. Yeah, like I said, when we start to get to a lot of layers of motion, my brain has trouble keeping up. And this is only 2 blend shapes. So let's do the same thing for the other one. Okay, we know the same deal. We need negative 0.01, or not 0.01, just point. There we go. 0.1. And reload left, reload right. And okay, so we have output X will be the first term. It'll also be the color if true on R. We'll use Z, which is our negative value, or for the false, we'll put that on B. And then we need to go into the attribute editor for this guy, and instead of saying equal, we'll also do greater than. And again, I don't know if that's right. I'm just going to run with the method of testing this and see, and then I'll be able to tell a lot more. Okay, so what am I doing? So out color for R is in theory lip out, and then for B it should be lip in. Okay, so negatives in, Okay, there's some sort of glitch happening there. What is the deal? So 0.5, it's jumping down. What is going on there? Greater than or less than? For some reason it seems to be jumping. So there's lip out, that's positive. Oh, I think we want that reversed. Let's try that the other way. Did I hook those up backwards? Oh, I don't think I did, but let's try it the other way around and see what happens. See, that's not right, because it shouldn't be at this at 0, so let's figure out where I did my math wrong. Let's go this blend shape. We're already getting 1 for lip curl in. So why are we already getting 1 for lip curl in? Oh, I know why, because I didn't reset these to 0. There we go, that would help. So its default setting was if false, go to 1, which is not right. That's not what we want. Okay, let's try this again. That's right, except I reversed them, so let's go back and fix the mistake I made. So we want R to be out and B to be in. There. So there we have an attribute controlling 2 blend shapes. So it's when we're saying with that condition node, when it's greater, when this number is greater than 1, the condition's true, which case we're plugging in the same value from this attribute, which is times 0.01 or 0.1, so it slows it down a little bit, so we get a little bit more control. So really, when we're at 10, it's the equivalent of being on a full 100%, and then everything after that is, bringing it even more extreme. And then when it goes below 0, then the statement's false, and then curl lip out just stays on 0, and curl lip in is now getting this number times negative 0.1, which again gives us finer control, but the 0.1 part, and the negative makes sure this is a positive number going into a positively driven blend shape number. So that's kind of it of blend shapes. I mean, really the hard part is sculpting these guys and going and getting the different shapes and trying to make sure they're the same. If you start looking out there, there's a lot of tools for bringing in blend shapes in and out of ZBrush, or duplicating, making one side and then having a script make the other. So check those out before you start. Don't make a bunch of stuff and then just assume that's going to work. There may be some protocol that you have to follow to make that work. But there's definitely tools that simplify that, because that's the bulk of this work is sculpting the different heads. But here's hooking them up, and you saw how straightforward it could be. In this case we put a multiply divide node in here to fine tune this, but you don't have to do that. And in here we put a condition node to control 2 blend shapes, with 1 attribute. And again, you don't have to do that. It's just something that I feel is cleaner. But pretty straightforward, and should be easy enough. And then once you're done, we just go in and let's close some of these windows down here. Go into the outliner, go into your mesh, and again, this is another one of those things that you just hide so your animators don't get them. And ideally, you go and lock it so they can't turn those back on. So, but there you go. Here's a character with blend shapes on it now. It's still working with the rig control, so I could puff this out, but it's still skin weighted, so I could then also move where that puff is going. So if he's chewing or something, we could do that. So, congratulations. Now know how to set up blend shapes. See you next lesson.